What's going on, y'all? AttorneyTom here. In today's video, I'm going to be patrolling random subreddits and answering the questions. This is, of course, a departure from the norm. Usually I address comments on r/AttorneyTom, the greatest subreddit on the internet, but I thought we would do something a little bit different here today. Let's get started. From r/lawyer talk. What reason should I give my boss for leaving when it's to start a firm in the same practice area? Dear boss, you don't pay me enough money. You. I can do this better on my own. I am starting my own law firm. I am going to bankrupt you. I'm only half kidding. Of course, you want to be upfront with your boss. Tell him or her that you are going to leave and you are going to be opening up a competitive firm, but you need to do it in a way where you don't burn any bridges. Having mentors and having colleagues in the same practice area can be invaluable. I'm in year 3 of my own law firm, and I rely heavily on the advice of people who I used to work for. But if you do hate your boss, tell him to go f off. Failed the bar, any hope? Just found out I didn't pass my state's bar exam. Wasn't a huge surprise after a significant tech issue with the software during the essay portion, but it's still very disappointing. That sucks. The software? The short answer is absolutely. Some of the most successful lawyers that I know have failed the bar exam. The bar exam is just a test, and it has nothing to do with the actual practice of law. And especially if you failed it because of a technical issue, just study hard, take it again. 6 months will fly out. Before you know it, you'll be a lawyer. Good luck. I believe in you. Best reads for future lawyers. Hello, I was just accepted to my first law school and I'm waiting to hear back from others. I'm soliciting from attorneys on this thread a few favorite law school or practice related books that I might read before 1L. I want to hear from the rest of law schools. So of the books on this list, the most relevant is actually this one. The Story of a First Year at Harvard Law School by Scott Turow. I read this book when I got accepted to law school. Actually, a judge recommended it to me. It basically describes what your 1L year is like. Now, as I've said on this channel before, law school is absolutely nothing like practicing law. If you want to be a trial lawyer, I would suggest reading any book by Jerry Spence. My favorite of his is Win Your Case. And obviously, that book is more of a practice manual about how to try cases. But, you know, if you want to be a trial lawyer, which you may not, you might want to be a transactional lawyer. I don't know. There you go. Moving on. What are the biggest misconceptions that law students have about the practice of law? Essentially, what are the things that law students typically think are true about the day-to-day life of a lawyer versus what is actually true? This is not a question specifically about private law firm practice. It can be in any legal field. So let's read some of the comments. How many emails do you get, and try not to drown in them? Once in a 4-hour period, I got 150 emails. No joke. That's not outrageous. I would just say practically nothing I learned in school prepared me for the actual practice of law, except maybe research. Absolutely correct. And obviously, I've talked about the lack of law school preparing you to practice law before. So a new misconception that I'm going to add to this conversation is that I think people who go to law school get pigeonholed. Just because you go to law school doesn't necessarily mean you need to go work for a big corporate soul eater law firm. Being a lawyer is great. I love it. It literally opens up so many doors. I have a lot of friends who went to law school and then they got high up positions in big corporations where they're not even practicing law. But having a law degree really is a utility. You can use it a whole bunch of different ways. So don't be pigeonholed to the practice of law. I love it. I love being a trial lawyer, but I know it's not for everybody. And I know a lot of people who are miserable being lawyers. Don't think that you're pigeonholed. I'm a 3L and I just had my first hearing on a real case, gave my oral argument, and the judge ruled in our favor. I came here to tell you because I'm elated. First light at the end of the tunnel I've seen since law school started. Wow, that's amazing. I wish my law school or state had some sort of program where you could be a law student and argue real cases. We didn't have that. I still vividly remember my first hearing, or I should say substantial hearing where I had to give an argument. The hearing was on a case that eventually I took to a bench trial. And believe it or not, it was not a catastrophic personal injury case. It was a contract dispute. And I remember going to the courthouse. I was so nervous. And in hindsight, although the nerves never really go away when you go to court, this was such a minor hearing, but I still remember it vividly. Would you consider yourself a happy or unhappy lawyer? Just curious. I'm ecstatic. I'm miserable. Lawyering is just a job. Wouldn't say I'm happy, unhappy practicing law. I think that's kind of sad. I've been really, really lucky. I love being a lawyer, but I'm also my own boss, which I definitely think makes a huge difference. Because the problem with lawyering is that it's pretty much all consuming. I mean, there's no such thing as a 40-hour work week as a lawyer. So even if it's just a job, you might as well do a job that you like. I don't know. Maybe I'm too much of an optimist. For some people who treat it as a job, that's their prerogative. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with just making a lot of money and having passions somewhere else. I'm going to vote. I'm ecstatic. Why won't it let me vote? Okay, well, it won't let me vote. So I'm going to say ecstatic. I'm happy.
Help me.
How do you defend somebody you know is guilty? While I'm not a criminal defense lawyer, I have a lot of friends who are criminal defense lawyers. And I would argue that it is even more important to defend somebody who is guilty. They do have constitutional rights, even the guilty, and it's important to preserve those and protect those and make sure the state proves their burden beyond a reasonable doubt. Because by preserving that process, you actually preserve or protect the innocent, because not everybody who gets charged is guilty. And it's a slippery slope. We cannot let the guilty go undefended, because then the process just gets skewed. Why do judges think they can be unprofessional and assholes during a hearing? Let me tell you why. Because judges are normal people, and just like how you're going to run into the unprofessional and ass lawyer, there are the unprofessional and ass judges. There are judges who don't know anything about anything. There are judges who think that they are God. Have you ever heard the joke, what's the difference between God and a federal district court judge? God doesn't think he's a federal district court judge. And if there are any federal judges watching this, I obviously didn't mean you. Forgive me. But in all seriousness, it is the truth. If you deal with enough judges, you're going to run across a bunch of different personalities. Opening my own firm. If I plan to open up my own firm in the future, should I work at a big or smaller firm? Pros and cons of each. So it's going to depend. It's going to depend on the type of law you want to practice. For instance, if you want to be a plaintiff's trial lawyer like me, almost certainly the best move is to go to a small plaintiff's firm where you can get some experience by taking depositions, being second or third chair in trials. If you go to a big law firm, it might be 5 years before you ever see the inside of a courtroom or take a deposition or do whatever. You're probably just going to be a cog in the machine. But if you want to do big fancy mergers and acquisitions or other types of big law, there's your answer. You need to work in big law before starting your own firm. All right, y'all, that's it for today's video. That was fun. r/lawyer talk for anybody who's interested in that subreddit thread. My goal is always to make content worthy of your time. Thank you so much for watching. I ask that you consider subscribing to this community. We just passed 446,000 subscribers, which is absolutely crazy. All right, y'all. Thanks again for watching. Talk to you soon. Bye.
He's a catastrophic injury attorney who accidentally became a YouTuber. Attorney Tom.